Hi, this is Zachary with Clean Code Studio. Clean Code, Clean Life, Simplify. Today we are talking about Laravel's Tinker. So to start off with, I have a fresh install of Laravel. So to get started, we're just going to start off by installing Composer. Then as soon as that's done installing, we're going to create a database, go to our .env file, and then tell our Laravel project about our database. So we all see on the same page. So my Composer dependencies are installed. So now I'm going to do PHP Arsenal key generated my random encryption key for my application, and then I am going to switch over to my .env file. Oops, sorry, one sec. Forgot to create my database. So then I am going to just go MySQL, and a lot of you might have to use MySQL username, password. I have it set up to where I don't in local development. I'm going to show my databases, and if you are scrolling down, I do not have Tinker yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to go back in so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to do create database Tinker. Okay. Now if we do that one more time, clear MySQL show databases, and then we do have Tinker. It looks like it's cut off there on the screen. So maybe if we do this. Yep, Tinker right there. So we are good to go. Okay, so now that that is done, we're going to switch over to the .env file right here, and we're going to go to database name. My database name is Homestead. My database name is Tinker. My database username is Homestead, and my database password is secret. So that is all set up. Localhost works, and it does not look like I need to do anything else right now. So let's transition back to the to the terminal, and we're gonna do PHP Artisan migrate, just like that. And now if we go to clear, we're good to go. So now we're set up, and to prove we are set up, we can go to tinker.studio. Just a default Tinker.studio, just a default Laravel application. So now, again, we know that Tinker is a way to interact with our Laravel and PHP applications. But what would be a good use case of doing that? So let's say, first off, how do we access Tinker? We access Tinker by just running PHP Artisan Tinker in the root of our project, okay? Now, let's say we have app/user. Null. Why is it null? Well, because we don't have a user yet. So if I wanted to, and I wanted to get a test user, I could do something like this. I could do PHP Artisan make auth. That creates an auth. It just scaffolds the authentication system. Then I have to go in here, and I could reload this, and I could register, blah, 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 and I could say Zach at cleancode.studio, secret, and secret. Ooh. Oh, wow. Go do. There we go. Sorry about that. Then I have a user. So now that we know I have a user, because I just made one right there, if we go back to right here, clear this out, go PHP Artisan Tinker. Now if we do app user first, voila, we'll return Zach. Email Zach at cleancode.studio, email verified at null, created at timestamp and updated at. Okay. So what if I didn't want to go through that whole process of logging in and creating the user? What if I just wanted to create the user? I can input the email, I can input the password, right? So let's do that. Let's first off prove this works. Do app/user first delete. Now if we do app/user first, no users exist anymore, so we are good. So now we'll clear that. Let's do app/user create. We'll do email equals new user@email.com. Password equals secret. And we'll set user equals that. General name doesn't have a default value. Forgot the name. So right there, name equals Billy Bob. Okay. So now we have a new user. So notice, we didn't have to go through and make the users through the registration system. This allows us to do things such as testing, such as setting things up, such as scaffolding. It allows us to do a whole bunch of stuff. So let's say, I don't know, we wanted to make 10 users. 10 users, really quickly, really simply. What would we do? First off, we're going to clear that. Second off, we're going to transition. We're going to go back to our PHP, transition back here, and then I'm going to go migrations database /factories /user factory. Okay. So this actually comes with Laravel. This default user factory comes with Laravel. So what's that mean? Well, it means that we can open up this database file right there. It means we can go to factories, we can go to user factory, and we have this. This allows us to scaffold multiple users. Notice that the random password by default is password. Email verified at now. Email is just a unique, safe email. The name is a faker name. Very, very straightforward, and the remember token for the session is a random string of 10 characters. Pretty straightforward. But how do we actually go about using the factories, and how does that tie into Tinker? So our use case earlier was, what if we wanted to have 10 users, right? So we have app user, and then we'll just get them all right now. Right now we have one. So let's just do app user first, delete, we exit that, and we clear that out. We go to MySQL. We're going to use Tinker, show select blank from users, and we're going to do /g. Okay, so try to select blank from users is empty, right? That's good. So now we'll do that, clear that, go back to Tinker. Now let's do factory, helper method, global method. Then we're going to do app/user class, which gives us the string path to the user model. And then we're going to do 10, right? Just like that. I'm sorry, I forgot to create. Then we're going to do create. Factory app/user class create 10. Boom. So now if we go here, we have our 10 users, and we can prove that by going get cm. But we can do app user count, right? Or if we want to make sure, which I don't know why you would need to, but just to be safe, use Tinker, and then we can go back and we can do select blank from user/g. And we have all of our 10 new users. And notice the ID starts at 3 because we already deleted 2. So the last ID is 12, the first ID is 3, but there are still only 10 users. So that's pretty cool. So now, what if we wanted to, I don't know, delete all of the users, or only delete a few of the users? Well, let's go back here. Let's go PHP, Artisan, Tinker. Okay. So what's cool is that we're using Eloquent, which is basically a PHP abstraction to communicate with the database. It's an object relational model is the technical term. But so we're using that, and so we can interact with the database using our PHP classes. And each model represents a single record. Each static method or property on those models represents the entire table. Okay? And if you didn't catch that, that's okay. We'll go over another video later. But because of that, if we go app/user, we go get, well, get gets the entire table. First gets the first element from the table. But then we have user, and this is still an instance, user is an instance of the user class. App/user first isn't technically an instance because it's static. But because we have an instance, now we can actually run methods on that given instance. So say we go app/user, find the user with an ID of 9. Okay? So then we'll do user equals that. And we'll do user update name equals, I don't know, Joey. Okay. Now, user's name is Joey. Simple as that. Now say we want to get rid of that user. We can do user delete. So here's Joey. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. But what if we want to get rid of Joey now? We can do user delete. Pretty cool. So now if we do app/user get, and we'll do a clear okay. Transition, and so I should make this smaller. Okay. Now we're there. App/user get. Okay. So now we have all of our users. Every single one of them. So if we want to go back, and let's say we want to delete all of our users, but we can do app/user truncate. What does that do? That just truncated the entire users table. Truncate in MySQL means it just emptied it. All records, all items, all rows inside that table have now been emptied. So you don't get anything. So now let's go back. Let's do factory app/user class. Let's do 5 this time. And then we'll do create. Created 5. Let's do clear. We'll do app/user. Let's do take 3 pluck ID all. First 3 user IDs. Okay. So right here, what are we doing? We're saying, let's go to the user table, and notice we just created 5 more users using that factory method we talked about. Let's take 3 of those users, the first 3 of those users, then we're going to pluck the ID or grab the property ID from each of those users, and then we are going to cast that collection of IDs, that Laravel collection of IDs, to an array. And all does the same thing as toArray. So to an array equals all. So I just like using all because it's shorter. So now let's do this. And before we implement the other one, let's make sure we still have all the users. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of ID 1, ID 2, ID 3. And notice that the IDs did reset when we truncated the table. So now let's clear that out. First 3 user IDs, and we're going to do app/user destroy, and destroy takes an array of IDs. First 3 user IDs. Sweet. Now if we go app/user count, we only have 2 users left, and just one last time to prove it, if we do get 2 users right there. So that's how easy it is to mess with Tinker, and that's what I mean, like it lets you mess with it in real time. Another cool one that I actually forgot to mention, we'll sum this up pretty quickly here. If you want to do app first dd, oh sorry, not that one. Let's do app get dd. Okay. This will die and dump a collection, and this will give you all of the information about each model. So that did a collection, which is a little more confusing than a simple model. So here, let's die and dump a simple model. Let's do die and dump app/user, get the first user that exists. Right there. So fillable has name, email, password, hidden password, remember token, cast email verified as date time. It is connected to MySQL. It is stored in the users table as a primary key of ID. Its key type is an integer. It increments, which means this primary key of ID, which is of type integer, increments. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. It can have no duplicates, and it keeps on counting forever. With is what it will eager load. With count is it will eager load the count of a related resource. It exists, so yes, it exists. Per page is pagination. Was recently created. False attributes. These are all of the properties on the model. And other than that, it has the here transition, give you guys some more space to check that out. It has the original and all of these things that we haven't filled, but those are all optional things you can add to your model. Those are all properties you can add to your model. And then the remember token name, which is just remember token. So yeah, so it's a cool way to debug and learn more about your models. It's a good way to determine what your models are doing and just basically what's going on in your application. And it helps out with learning a lot of the other helper methods, collection methods, model methods. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and a lot of it's trial and error, and to be able to interact with it in real time, I don't have to load a page to try that versus to try latest first. Oh, forgot that. If you just mess with it in your PHP Storm application, your PHP application, then you reload every time you make a change, it takes a lot longer to mess with it. So if you just want to practice, this is honestly great just to practice. So yeah, there's all of that, and I think the last thing I want to go over today, and sorry this video's kind of gone a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. Oh shoot, I was showing you. App/user first, app/user latest first. So this is what I was saying. This is to mess with these inside of your text editor would mean you have to reload the page each time you want to try a new method. So if you're just starting out especially and you don't know the difference between first and latest first, or any one of like all versus to array or to JSON, this is a great way to test it out and to fail quicker. And that would be the one thing I recommend when you're getting into this stuff, is just do the thing, and just keep doing it, and just keep trying, just keep building up that muscle memory and figuring out slowly but surely what is the difference between these commands. Collections and models have a whole bunch of things you can do on them, and to come here into an interactive environment where you can do just anything and everything like that is just huge, and it makes things so much quicker. Oh yeah, there we go. So the last thing I want to show you is a package I found that I really like, and it is the same thing as Tinker, except it allows you to go to an endpoint that has a page for that Tinker environment. So here it is right there. It's composer require erjanmx/Laravel live Tinker. Just like that. Give that a second to download. And I'll post a link in the description. But it's pretty straightforward. The only thing we need to do is require that and add the service provider, and we will be good. Okay. So that did that. That updated. So let's transition back here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go Alt-1, config, app, scroll down to service providers right here, and we are going to add a service provider. Then we are going to transition back, composer dump autoload. And all composer dump autoload does is composer will autoload your files, but once it autoloads all your PHP files, it will cache them. So whenever you add new files, it won't always catch that you added a new file, or that you need a new file, or that your application needs to require or use a new file, because it has it cached. So when you dump the autoload, it dumps the cache. It dumps what is already being autoloaded. So that's what that does. So now if we go here, and we transition back that, right here. So this is the Laravel Tinker. Debug, test, small, blah, blah, blah. Ooh. This is what it's gonna look like. Composer require, add the provider, PHP Arsenal vendor publish is the last command. Bada bing, and just so you can see, I did just run that. And then, right there, we are good, I think. So now we just need to find the endpoint, which I know off the top of my head, so we're good there. Just go to tinker.studio/live tinker. And here we go. So now, check this out. This is actually really cool. I wish that thing went up. So we can use app, and now we can do user git dd. And then all we have to do is control enter. Whoop. Oh, forgot the namespace. Use app/user, namespace is that, not that. There we go. Now we got the users again. And then if we wanted to factory app/user class 1000 create, but name equals, I don't know, clean code studio, right there. Oop. So I imported user, so I can't do that twice. Okay. So right now that's going to take a sec because I just created 10,000 or 1,000 of them. So now if we want to comment that out, we just do user count. We just echo out that count. We have 1,002 users. And so then what we can do is once we switch over one last time, we go clear in MySQL, use Tinker, and then we want to do select the link from users/g. Notice we have all of these users now. And that's how easy it is to mess with your database, to get things to go back and forth between your actual application, to interact with your application in real time. Like, this is some really cool stuff, guys. So yeah, I think we're good there, and we'll just end it with one last Tinker command, and that will be app/user truncate. Boom. And then if we do app/user git, no more exist. Of course, one last time for good measure, if you go back here and you echo the user count is 0. So that was Laravel Tinker in a nutshell. Just kind of wanted to give you guys some examples. I know that wasn't the most concise video in the world, but you know, I figured just kind of working through it and understanding it, more of a real workflow would be helpful. So let me guys know if you guys like the format of this video, or if you like them more, I guess, synchronous, more step-by-step, more orderly and to the point. Either way is awesome with me, guys. As always, I appreciate it. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'd love to get your guys' feedback and hear where I can improve.